marketing, because you're going to have to spend money on marketing in order to be able to get your inventory. At least that's the way our business works. You need to be thinking as an entrepreneur, not with the employee mindset. See, employees don't consider these things. Employees don't worry about these things. Employees worry about a paycheck. I go, I do my job, I do what I'm supposed to do for X number of hours, and I'm supposed to get paid X number of dollars, and that's it. Okay, let's get into the slides now that we did the housekeeping. And I've given the algorithm enough time to kick in and to let people know that we are live. Um, you need to stop thinking like an employee, okay? Very, very important. You want to start thinking like an entrepreneur. You want to start thinking like a boss. You want to start thinking and taking ownership of your own business. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an analogy. When Ray Kroc first started his career, he started his career as a traveling milkshake machine salesman, okay? He was traveling around the country selling his milkshake machines. That is actually how he met the McDonald's brothers over in Riverside County. I don't remember the exact city. I think it's San Bernardino, excuse me. And he went out there trying to sell them his milkshake machines. And instead, what happened was he was greeted by the McDonald's brothers, and he witnessed what they called their speedy service system, right? Which is essentially their system that they use to prepare the food. And he was 52 years of age at this point. He was an unsuccessful traveling milkshake machine salesman. He meets the McDonald's brothers, and within 1 year, he gets the rights to franchise their business model. And then within 2 years after that, he has purchased the business rights from them. You can learn more about this by watching The Founder. Love him or hate him, whatever. Look, however you feel about Ray Kroc or the strategy that he used to build the business and to build McDonald's is history now. McDonald's is what it is. And so if you haven't seen the movie, I would suggest you watch the movie The Founder. Again, you may or may not agree with exactly what he did, but there is no denying that Ray Kroc obviously built a multi-billion-dollar system model, and McDonald's is one of the largest real estate corporations that holds real estate in the world. Okay, not in the country, in the world, and you could research that yourself as well. That is why everything today is McDonald's themed. Now, when we're talking about building your business and acting more as an entrepreneur as opposed to acting as an employee, number one, you need to get your family on board. So if you have a spouse, if you are married, if you have children, if you have people around you, if you're young and you're in college and you're living at home and you've got mom and dad there, it is very important that you get the people around you on board so that they understand what it is that you are doing, the entrepreneurial endeavor that you are going to be undertaking. You need them to understand it, because it's going to make it easier for them for them to understand you when you go through this entrepreneurial journey. Okay, very, very important, because things take time. Things don't always work out, as quickly as you'd like them to work out. Now, are there going to be some success stories? Sure. Are there going to be some people who are going to close deals within their first, 2 weeks to 3 weeks to 1 month, and they're going to go in there, they're going to find a seller, they're going to find a buyer, they're going to make $10,000 right away, and people are going to think, well, this is great. The system obviously works, and we hear those success stories all the time. Do they exist? Absolutely, those success stories do exist. Do they happen all the time? Usually not. And here's the harsh reality. When I have someone that gets in this business and they experience success too soon, what that does is it sets a false pretense, because then they think that the business is always going to be that easy. It's so easy. All I had to do was, knock on a seller's door. In fact, they gave me the paperwork signed, and then I went to go find a buyer. I found the buyer at the local 7-Eleven. They came to me and said I overheard them looking for property. I put the two together. I didn't even know what I was doing, and I made $10,000, and the check just showed up in my mailbox, right? When it comes that easy, what happens is they believe that it's going to be that way. And so some of the people who have had incredible success in the very, very, very beginning, very, very early on in their careers, within 3 to 4 months of not having that same success, they're typically out of the business. Why? Because they didn't pay their dues to actually, they didn't build that business the right way, so they don't know any better. They just assume that it was always going to be that easy, when the reality is it's not. So you need to get your family on board so that they can support you if you don't necessarily see immediate success within your first 2 weeks, if you don't see immediate success within your first 4 weeks, if you don't see a check within your first 6 weeks. Okay. It's okay. There are plenty of people that didn't close their first deal within their 3, 4, 5 months, and now they're earning, 5, 6, 7 figures every single month in this business as real estate investors and as real estate wholesalers, but they didn't have that right away. All right. So you need to get your family on board. I like to use the restaurant analogy. And the reason that I like to use the restaurant analogy, hence the theme, hence the McDonald's theme throughout this entire training, is because people can kind of relate, or you can kind of understand the concept of what it might be like to own a restaurant. If you've ever owned a restaurant, or if you've ever built a business, in the food industry, then you kind of get, or you definitely get this already. But for those of us who don't, let's just talk about how this analogy works as well. Number one, if you're going to start a restaurant business, you're going to select a genre, right? You're going to try to pick what kind of food it is that you're going to serve. Obviously, it's going to be a food that you have some type of experience or some type of background in it. When it comes to what we do, you need to select a genre as well. You need to pick what strategy you are going to use. Are you going to be going after sellers and just looking for all cash deals? Are you going to be looking for flicks and flips opportunities that you're going to be going out to find buyers who can buy it, fix it, flip it, and sell it? Or are you going to be going after people that have very low equity, very little emotional attachment to their properties, and so they want to sell it, but because they don't have equity, potentially they're going to have to bring money to the closing table, and so it's actually going to cost them money to sell. Those are the type of people that you could approach, using a subject to offer, basically saying, I'm going to take over your existing mortgage. I'm going to purchase this property subject to that mortgage, right? Or are you going to use a novation strategy where you're talking to people whose property is in the middle? It's not quite a fix and flip, but it hasn't been fully remodeled, so it's not up to 2025 standards. So what you're going to do is you're probably going to talk to them, and you're going to offer them a guaranteed price for them, right? And you're going to put it on the MLS with a fee on top, making sure that you cover all of the expenses, including the commissions, including any repairs that a lender might require. So there's different strategies here. There's different genres. You just have to pick one, and you have to get good at it. Now, when you start a restaurant, if you're starting a particular restaurant with a particular food, right? If you're starting a Chinese restaurant, 6 months from now, if you're not doing so hot on it, you're not all of a sudden going to change and make it a Mexican restaurant, right? That typically doesn't happen. You don't see businesses doing that. But in our business, I see people doing that all the time. So in our business, they select a particular strategy that they're going to be implementing, or a specific strategy that they're going to be using. And then after 2 or 3 months of not having immediate success, all of a sudden they want to throw the business model out the window, and they want to go select a different genre. They want to go select a different strategy. Just like a restaurant business, you can't do that. You haven't given the strategy enough time for you to actually see the results of it. And so you have to give it that time that it takes for you to actually master it. All right. Same deal here. Next thing, you have to select the market. Right. When someone starts a restaurant, and we're still using that restaurant analogy, they're going to pick a market that they're going to go in. They're going to want to go where they think there's going to be high traffic, where they think that people are going to come. They might want to go onto Restaurant Row, where they're going to compete against other restaurants. But when you go into an area where there is high competition and there are other restaurants, there are other people there, then you get the opportunity to get the overflow. Right. I mean, consider this. If you owned a restaurant in an area that's there's high traffic, there's high foot traffic, there's high auto traffic, and people are going around, is there a possibility that when someone goes to a restaurant and they hear that the wait time there is going to be an hour to an hour and a half, that they could potentially say, well, we're already in this area, let's just go to a different restaurant? Could that potentially happen? Absolutely. So did you benefit from the competition? Did you benefit if you owned a restaurant? Did you benefit from all the other restaurants in the area also attracting that foot traffic? 100%. So the same thing applies in our business, right? It's the exact same thing. Could you benefit from the fact that there are a bunch of people competing in your market? Could you benefit from the fact that there are a bunch of investors that are trying to go out there and get deals? Well, absolutely you could. Okay, you will benefit because, number one, if you do find an opportunity, you know that there's a traffic there, you know that there's eyeballs there, and you know that you could probably get this deal sold if you get it at a price that makes sense for you to be able to put your fee on top and sell it to a seller. Why? Because there's all this traffic, there's all this eyeballs from other investors who are operating in that market. There's all this traffic from other wholesalers. There's all this traffic from other people that are operating in that market. That's what this means. So you select a market that does have competition. You select a market where there's a lot of traffic. You select a market where people are going to be operating in because you could benefit from that traffic and from that overflow. You want to lease a location. Now, here's a good analogy, right? If you're going to start a restaurant, right, thinking as an entrepreneur, you have to spend tens of thousands of dollars to lease a location if you're going to start a restaurant. Now, the beauty about what we do is you don't have to do that, right? You could work virtually. You could work from home. You could work from the park. You could work from your office. You could work anywhere you want, right? As an entrepreneur doing what it is that we do. That is a massive, massive advantage. I don't think people truly understand the advantage that you have when you are able to operate this business from the comfort of your home, from the comfort of your home office, from the comfort of your office, right? Let's say you have a 9 to 5, right? But you have a conference room that you can use at your 9 to 5, or a coffee room, or whatever it is that you want to use. And you go in there after you're off, right? After you're off your shifts and you're working there, on your laptop, and you're making your calls or doing whatever you're doing, not bothering anybody, right? And you don't have to incur the additional expense of leasing a location. That is absolutely huge. And I think a lot of people tend to discount that, and they tend to not appreciate how valuable that is, and the benefit of not having to pay a monthly lease location. Whereas a typical entrepreneur, when they're going to run their business, they're going to want an office, they're going to want a location, they're going to want all that stuff. Now, are there some people that run their businesses out of an office? Yes, there are. There are plenty of successful real estate investors and real estate wholesalers that do lease a location. They lease a small office, and they use a variety of different strategies to do that. I'm not going to do a training on that today, but some of them use location virtual offices like WeWork, Regis. There's a whole bunch of different co-op spaces now that do the exact same thing, which I think is probably one of the most cost-effective ways to do this, is to use those co-op office spaces myself. But anyway, hire employees. All right. So if you're going to start as an entrepreneur, if you're going to start a restaurant, you're going to have to hire employees. The beauty of what we do is that you don't necessarily have to hire employees and worry about the W-2s. You can hire virtual assistants. You can hire other JV partners to work with you. And so we don't have that additional expense that other entrepreneurs would have if they are going to have to hire employees. Now, if you're going to need an assistant, you can hire a virtual assistant. There are plenty of people who are highly, highly, highly educated overseas. And you're more than welcome to hire those people to operate as your virtual assistants to take care of the mundane tasks that you don't want to do. You have to think bigger, and you have to think as an entrepreneur, and you want to be getting people that you can delegate tasks to so that you're not the ones doing it. What are some of the tasks that these people could complete for you? Well, cold calling is definitely one of them. Sending out SMS messages and text messages and emails and marketing is another one. Doing outreach for you. So for instance, let's say you decide, hey, I want to hire a virtual assistant for me, and all I want to do is for them to go out there and do outreach using direct messaging on Facebook Marketplace. So I want them in the markets that I am attacking, I want them to go onto Facebook Marketplace and reach out to as many for sale by owners, as many property owners who are putting their property up for sale in that area, and I want my virtual assistant to do that. Those are the kind of tasks that you could have them do. So these are all things for you to consider as you scale. I will tell you that if you are going to hire a virtual assistant to do any of these tasks, that if you're going to delegate any of these tasks to your virtual assistant, it is important that you are very proficient at them first before you delegate them, and that you screen record yourself doing these tasks so that way you can provide those tasks to them, and you can give them those videos and say, here's how I would like for them to be done. Some of you are being approached by a bunch of virtual assistant agencies. Some of them are great, some of them are not so great. And so when you hire these virtual assistants through these agencies, the assumption is they're going to know what to do. I don't have to do anything. I've already paid them. They should just handle, whatever it is that I tell them to handle. And it's not that simple. When you hire a virtual assistant, there is still onboarding. There is still coaching that has to take place so that they do the things the way that you want them done. You still have to inspect what you expect, or they'll just run wild. And what will happen is you will have run up a bill of an employee, a virtual assistant that has been twiddling their thumbs all day long because they're not doing the things the way that you want them to do it. And then later on, you'll say, hiring a virtual assistant doesn't work, or that agency doesn't work. They're a scam because that person really didn't generate me any business. Not taking responsibility for the fact that you actually didn't onboard or train that virtual assistant correctly and treat them like a real employee as if they were right next to you, sitting in the chair right next to you, you prepping them so that they could do a good job for you. Okay. So when you're going to hire employees, whether they be virtual or not, there is an onboarding process that you are going to have to establish. And the best way to establish this is by you recording everything that you do, which means that you have to become proficient at the things that you want them to do for you, the things that you want to delegate to them. Inventory. I'm still on that restaurant analogy kick. Okay. So, inventory. If you started a business as an entrepreneur as a restaurant, you're going to need inventory. You know this, right? You need food, right? If you're a restaurant owner, you need food. You got to go out and buy the food so that you can prepare the food. The employees prepare the food for you so that way the food can be sold to your customers, to your patrons. Well, we have inventory too. What's our inventory? Our inventory are our deals. We have to have inventory. You're going to need inventory. So where are you going to get your inventory? Where you're going to need to make sure that you're prospecting. You're going to need to make sure that your assistants, your virtual assistants, are prospecting for you. That means that you're going to need marketing, right? Let's talk about marketing, because you're going to have to spend money on marketing in order to be able to get your inventory. At least that's the way our business works. You need to be thinking as an entrepreneur, not with the employee mindset. See, employees don't consider these things. Employees don't worry about these things. Employees worry about a paycheck. I go, I do my job, I do what I'm supposed to do for X number of hours, and I'm supposed to get paid X number of dollars, and that's it. That's it. But when you are an entrepreneur, these are all the responsibilities, all the expenses, all the duties that you have in order to make sure that your entrepreneurial endeavor succeeds, right? Which is why marketing is a huge part about what we do. I see too many people try to avoid investing any money in tools and investing any money in marketing because they say, I don't have any money to get started, and you told me that I could do this business for free. I see videos that talk about how I could do everything for free. I shouldn't have to spend any money. And again, that is an employee mindset, not an entrepreneurial mindset. An entrepreneur understands that in order for this business to succeed, they are going to have to invest time and money. Yes, I understand that you can invest sweat equity and you can invest effort, right? And I appreciate that. I understand that. There are plenty of times where I was just working and working and working and not investing any money in marketing. Will it take you longer? Yes. Will it be harder? Yes. I have sympathy for the people that say, I have no money to do this business. Okay. Well, then if you have absolutely no money to do this business, then do not complain about the tasks that you are going to have to do. Do not act like you are above getting on the phones and making those calls. Do not act like you are above putting on jeans and a t-shirt or a polo and going and door knocking to other people. Do not act like you are above hopping on Facebook Marketplace or on Craigslist and sending out your outbound marketing messages. Do not act like you are above sending out these emails to people and having to do it manually. I cannot tell you how mad that makes me when someone says, I have absolutely no money to invest in this business. And then when I give them a list of tasks that they then have to complete in order to succeed, they said, oh, I don't want to do those things. I don't like cold calling. Okay, then what do you want? What do you want? You don't have the money to invest in marketing, or so you say, but you don't want to do the things that you need to do in order to get the business built. So then you don't deserve to have success in this business. I'm sorry. That's just the reality of it, right? So anyway, that's marketing. You're going to invest money in marketing. You're not paid hourly. You're not paid on a salary. I know that you know this already. I understand that most of you have, understand that concept, but I think it bears repeating. Okay, because sometimes there are people that are going to gripe, and there are people that are going to go out there and they're going to say, well, I did this for 40 hours and I haven't gotten any money for it. Yeah, tough. Welcome to running your own business. Welcome to being an entrepreneur. You talk to any entrepreneur, especially the ones that have become wildly successful, and you will hear from them that many of them will say that let's say that, again, the restaurant analogy, that when they started their first restaurant, they didn't turn a profit for months, even years, and they didn't even pay themselves a salary or a wage. And they took on the jobs and the hours of two people within their company. They were the bus boy, the bus girl, they were the front desk, they were collecting payment. Oh, and by the way, in between shifts, they were also cooking, preparing food for other people. If you listen to Alex Hermosi, he talks about how when he started his gym, he was sleeping in the gym. He would shower at the Y. He would come back to the gym and he would work, right? These are the things that people I this is what boggles my mind about people when they get started in this business and they have that employee mindset. It's very, very different. They think that just because I've put X number of hours in this, I'm entitled to X number of dollars back. And it doesn't work that way. I'm sorry. But the beauty is that even though it's not, you're not entitled to X number of dollars for X number of hours, this actually multiplies. And what happens is that you get more back based on the hours that you put in, right? It compounds. It's like compounding interest. So yeah, maybe you didn't get on the short term what would equate to what you felt like you deserved for the hourly or the salary, but then based on your compounded efforts, sometimes you're paid 3, 4, 5, 10 times more than you would have based on that hourly salary or hourly wage. All right, so you have to acknowledge that. There are no benefits. Yeah, I'm sorry. There's no insurance, right? I get that. It's frustrating for some people, but once you do become successful at this business, you can actually buy your own insurance, buy your own coverage, get the best coverage that you possibly can for you and your family, but you have to build it that way. You run your own schedule. This is a blessing and this is a curse. Running your own schedule is a blessing and it's a curse. Why? Because sometimes you have too much time on your hands. And so when you don't have a schedule and you don't have a defined list of activities that you need to complete during the day, what tends to happen is you let your imagination run wild, you let your time run wild, and you go down that rabbit hole of TikTok and you don't get the things done that you need to get done. So it's very, very important that you have a schedule, you have a list of tasks that you need to complete. You monitor that schedule on a daily basis and you complete those tasks, and then you acknowledge the completion. You mark the completion down and you keep a journal of all of the things that you've completed throughout that day, because during that one day you may have had a bad day and you may not have completed very much. But then over the course of a few weeks, you go back and you start to look at these journals and you start to see what you've actually done. And then you start to see the results. And then you can say to yourself, okay, I see why I closed that 1 or 2 deals that month. It's because of all the work that I did the 2 or 3 weeks before and all the tasks that I completed, right? How many sellers did I talk to? How many real estate agents did I talk to? How many buyers did I talk to? And you log that on a daily basis. So you have to run your own schedule. You have to be disciplined enough to understand what you need to complete during those hours. And you need to make sure that those hours are filled with income producing activities that are going to help you make money in this business, not just doing things like watching videos, comping deals all day long, especially comping deals before you've even spoken to the seller or the realtor. I don't know why people want to spend time comping instead of talking to sellers or realtors or buyers. Those are the only things that really are going to produce income for you. If you're waking up and comping deals before you've actually even talked to the seller, why do that? Right? It doesn't make sense. It's not a good use of your time, especially if you call the seller later on, an hour after it took you an hour to comp, and then the seller says, oh, yeah, the property, I already accepted an offer. What that means is you've just spent a whole hour comping a property that's already under contract. Why do that? All right. So monitor your schedule. You have to invest in your own business. I've already talked about in marketing. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. You're going to need to get used to delayed gratification. This is very important. Get used to delayed gratification. It's okay if it doesn't happen next week. It's okay if you don't close your first deal next month. It's okay if you don't get paid within 2 months. Now, I know that on the surface, that sounds horrible because you saw a video of somebody who closed a deal and they got their first $10,000 check in their first month. I get it. I understand how that might be frustrating, but you have to be realistic about this. This is a business, and that one person, you don't know what their story was. You don't know what they had access to. You don't know how much effort they put in. And you don't know what their experience is like. Maybe they've done this before. Maybe they had a real estate license. Maybe they had a mentor. You don't know what their story is like. So never compare your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 10. Race your own race. Does that make sense? Stay in your own lane. I'm using bad analogies now, but get used to some type of delayed gratification. It's okay if it doesn't happen overnight. It's okay. That's normal. Most businesses don't succeed immediately overnight. Whatever profession you're in right now, you didn't become proficient at it within 1 month. It took a little bit of time. Did you gain some skills during that first month? Absolutely. Were there some things that didn't work out in your first month? Absolutely. Are there success stories where people succeed in their first month? Absolutely. In this business, there are. But don't let that affect you and your journey by thinking, oh, I didn't close my first deal my first month. I got to quit now. That's an employee mindset, not an entrepreneurial mindset. All right, I'm going to close out with this. If you haven't joined yet, join our dollar club. Go to school.dispodragons.com, school.dispodragons.com. Yeah, it costs a buck. Sorry. Right, not sorry. And we cover a whole bunch of training on how to build this business there. Yes, I do go live once a day, but there's a whole bunch of specific content that we reserve just for that community, just for the people that are part of that. It's $1 lifetime access. Okay, and you get access to a community of people that are working and trying to build a business just like you. All right, so go to school.dispodragons.com. Be sure that you like and follow us if you are watching this. Like I said, over 50% of the people that are watching this are not subscribers or they're not followers. So do me a favor, give us a like on this video, give us a heart if you're watching it on another platform. Leave us a comment, leave us a DM if you found value in this. Share it with other people. If you think that there's somebody that could benefit from this content, by all means, please share this video with them. But make sure that you like and follow us. It is 9:45 Pacific Standard Time, 12:45 out on the East Coast. If you need help with any deals, send me a DM. We'd love to work with you on them. If you need help analyzing a deal, we can also help you do that as well. All right. Okay, guys, have a great day. I'll talk to everybody soon.